98.7, Kianglobe taking you to 6 a.m. So we still have about an hour and 80 minutes left together for you to gather all of these feel good vibes to make sure that you are A-okay, yeah? It is a Tuesday, and right now we're talking about creating psychological safety at the workplace, right? Because organizations with strong psychological safety report up to 27% high productivity and significantly better retention rates as employees feel valued, they also feel heard. And also when it comes to studies by leadership, it shows that leaders account for up to 70% of the variance in team engagement levels, meaning leadership style really directly shapes psychological safety in the workplace. I don't know about you, but I'm sure you've been in a workplace where you just didn't feel safe, psychologically speaking. And there were times where you thought that you couldn't express your ideas per se along those lines. So the workplace is fast changing. And when we do look at success, it's no longer about skills and performance. It's all about how safe we feel to actually really truly speak up at the end of the day. And the safety of our psyche is important because it really does help with key things like innovation, like teamwork, and of course, employee well-being. So to help us unpack what it means to be psychologically safe at work, but also just to create the psychological safety at our workplace, we are joined by compliance and social impact advocate Kovini Moodley. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. What a beautiful start to the morning.
Right?
Right?
But Kovini, thank you so much for coming through to Power 98.7 about this very important topic. Also, Workers' Day is just around the corner. So yes. I think it just makes perfect sense to unpack this as well. But when we do look at psychological safety in simple terms, how would you put it?
I would put it as a space within your workplace where you feel safe enough to raise issues, to raise concerns, be it ethical or anything else. And there is no fear of retaliation after raising those complaints.
Yeah. So
you honestly feel safe to, behave in an ethical manner without any repercussions, which is actually the way it's meant to be.
Yes, 100%. Is it a relatively new concept within our workplace, or is it something that's always been there and we just really haven't taken notice to it?
I think it's always been there. We just don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
Because there are certain laws in this country and our beautiful constitution that say that we need to find ourselves in spaces that are safe.
Yeah.
So that is what an employer's onus is when you enter a workplace.
But then how do our policies, how do our laws then fail to actually have that happen in action, right?
Yes.
Because having it written is beautiful,
absolutely,
right? But now putting action behind these words is a completely different thing. And where do our organizations fail when it comes to that?
Well, that's such a good question. I love that because often we have the best policies written up, but the implementation is not aligned with that particular policy. So I think for me, it really stems from the tone at the top, the culture at the top, the values, the belief system at the top. The onus lies on leadership to make sure that the policies that you've signed off on and that your board usually signs off on is something that is actually implemented in real life.
Yeah.
And that's very important. I guess that also drives a very healthy culture because no one is treated unequal, and the same law would apply to anyone at any level within an organization.
So we're looking at the top down.
Absolutely. Top down is where it starts.
Yeah.
What are the mindsets of leadership? What do they tolerate? What do they not tolerate? All of that is what sets the tone for what we call good corporate governance in South Africa.
So when we do look at good corporate governance within a workplace or just within our nation, what exactly are we looking at just to foster a positive workplace where innovation is happening, where teamwork is happening, where collaboration is happening as well? Because, we've heard plenty of people say, like, the only reason I'm there is because the paycheck is great, for example, right? Or you find people saying, I think I'm being underpaid.
Right.
However, like, I feel safe. I feel good. I feel like I'm contributing beyond just a paycheck. Yeah.
I think that is a very great concept. I mentor a lot of young professionals, so we've definitely had the debate about salary negotiation at some point. And I must say that the best place to do that is in a space where you feel comfortable, where you feel like you're adding value. And when employees feel valued, they give off more.
100%.
When they feel like they can, sometimes work from home, or given that leniency around flexible work arrangements, you get more from your employees. And that's where every company wants to be. I think especially with the new generation, everyone doesn't want to be boxed and say, 8 to 5, I need to see you sitting at your desk.
And COVID has also played a big part,
absolutely.
Right?
We succeeded. I mean, in my roles in corporate during COVID, we succeeded in, really delivering high performance without being in the workplace. So that's not a case study for you to consider what could make your employees happy. Because that's something that we all as employer groups can tap into and see what is it that makes you happy here.
Yeah.
It may be a gift voucher for someone else. For someone else, it may be something that money can't buy, which is working from home, which I think is a very productive way for myself personally.
Yeah.
To be able to just give focused attention to what it is I need to do for the day.
So in your career, in your time in corporate, what have been great signs of leadership in terms of creating a psychologically safe workplace?
I'm gonna name drop because these are really exceptional companies that I've worked for, and I'm sure your audience may resonate with this. I've worked at Deloitte, I've worked at Accenture. Accenture's been voted the best company to work for at the time that I was there. I think it was 3 years consistently the best employer in the country.
Okay.
So that's a good place to start from,
yes.
from a benchmarking perspective. For me, it's just been the fact that there's just acknowledgement. From the day you join, you get a message from the CEO. He walks down, he comes to meet you. And at that point, I was very young. I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
So that was 15 years ago. And it's the little things. It's how welcome you feel in a team. When you enter a space, a lot of people may not believe in the concept of energy, but it's something that I definitely learned by. What is the kind of mood when you enter a space? Because often we would work in teams, we would work in diverse teams. People from around the world would come to South Africa and be part of your team. And it was a very transparent organization.
I like that, transparent.
There's no cloaks and daggers, and you can't ask that. It was a very free space where you could ask any question related to work, and it won't just be disregarded.
Yeah.
There will be someone that will think it through, come back the next day and say, we've thought it through, and these are the cons, these are the pros. So I really love that about, working at Accenture, because I got to also work across 24 different JSE listed companies in Johannesburg, because we really get, we do little projects all the time. So that was an incredible experience. And also liken it to Deloitte, which is also a very professionally grounding experience for me to become excellent at my craft. And Deloitte and Accenture have policies that harassment is zero tolerance, and not just on paper. It's it will happen. Something will happen to the individual if they are found guilty. And I think that really sets the tone for a very strong culture at the top, where people know what is not expected.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
And they behave accordingly.
And I think that's great, because you always talk about what you expect, but we barely really touch on the part which is not expected as well, right?
Yes.
The things that you should not do, not just as an employee, but as an employer, as an employee, but just human nature, I guess, in itself.
Right.
You mentioned something that's very interesting there, in the sense that one of your CEOs came down to you, said, hello, you got a personalized message.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the importance of leadership presence in creating psychological safety in the workplace. How important is their presence in making sure that the people that are working under them feel safe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, it all starts with the leadership. When we say tone at the top, we're talking about everyone that's part of EXCO, your C-suite. They're the ones that create this mindset and this belief for the rest of the organization to follow. So if their belief system is, they're not sure on certain issues, and it creates this instability, you will see that same instability starts to flow downwards. and creates a poor culture. Creates a culture where people can do as they wish, get away with it, and you as an employee feel very despondent, if I can say that. So it really is about the leadership setting the tone. Usually there are charters in companies, there are visions, there are missions, and making sure that your policies align to your vision statement, your mission statement, your corporate strategy, your risk, strategy. It's very important that all of those things are not disparate. Because they ultimately all need to contribute to why are you in business and how do you choose to operate in business.
0861987000 is that calling line, or 0833037093 is the WhatsApp line. We're in conversation with compliance and social impact advocate Kovini Moodley, and we're talking about creating psychological safety within the workplace, right? So, there's quite a number of organizations out there. I'd like to believe that they have wellness programs or like wellness places where employees could go to. Are these also critical, important in terms of creating psychological safety within the workplace, in terms of, for example, an employee is feeling slightly burned out at this current moment in time, and it's not even a situation of it's because of work. Maybe it's external factors, right? But they don't know where to go through externally. But if there's that program in-house, it could help them out. So do wellness programs or wellness opportunities, do they also play a part in creating psychological safety?
They often call it EAP.
Yeah.
It's like a outsourced function. For me, it's secondary. Yeah. The actual tone at the top is not defined by your wellness. Your wellness, if it's because of a work-related issue, having all the wellness experts after a particular incident happens is not where you want to be. You don't want to be responding to things. The ideal situation for the leading practice companies that I've worked in is they've got a proactive measure. And their proactive measure is to keep their finger on the pulse, have an ethics hotline, have safe spaces where you can go in and feel like after you tell your story, number one, you're believed. Because I think a lot of women in workspaces are not believed when they talk up about what they may be experiencing. Especially things like that are very sensitive, like harassment, sexual harassment. These are things that we as women are not comfortable to speak up about, because we've either heard about stories where women in general are not believed, or then you start to face retaliation afterwards. So that for me is examples of where you don't have a psychologically safe environment. You pretend to, and then I always say that word of mouth is your most powerful marketing tool.
Right. In this day,
Absolutely.
With social media, with everything
cancel
that's going
culture.
on, cancel culture, word of mouth is highly is the best form or the worst form of marketing.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day.
Absolutely. There are companies that don't spend a lot on marketing because they treat their employees, like there's a red carpet treatment. And they really make them feel valued, because I think that's what people want in any employment relationship. You need to feel that sense of value, and it may not always be monetary.
That's true.
It may be just leniency. It may be you having a bad week for whatever reason from a personal perspective, and you're given that leniency to say, take the time off and you can make it up later.
You can make it up later. So before we get to, C-suite, right? We have to deal with all of the many layers of an organization. So here I am as a junior, and I'm working with Kovini, who is my senior. How do managers, in that sense, create a healthy working environment for everybody to thrive in at the end of the day?
So fortunately for me, I've led teams of up to 18 reports, and I think it is about understanding each of the people that are reporting into you. Everyone's not just a number for me. It's about understanding what makes you happy, what do you want to see more of. I've done that through surveys, and I've also done that with saying, email me your feedback on, how my leadership is aligning with your vision. Because it's also important for there to be two-way feedback, because that contributes towards psychological safety. Gone are the days where your boss is your boss.
And all and do,
I want to say, your pre-1994 I want to say, mentality where your boss is up there and you down here, and it must be a yes sir arrangement.
Yeah.
Gone are those days. Everyone now wants to be consulted. They want to have a two-way conversation. They want feedback in both ways. And I think that is very, very important in building a healthy team, and then also fostering within the team, fostering a healthy culture by every Friday having tea and muffins, or just something where you sit with your team, you talk, and it doesn't always have to be work related. Yeah, it shouldn't always be about work. Sometimes it can just be, let's unpack what we're going to do for our weekend. Let's hear a joke that you heard or something funny. And that really fosters and builds team culture.
And me as the employee, what can I do?
I think for you, it's important for you to set out your expectations to me. What are you expecting from a leader?
Okay.
How are you expecting me to help you towards your career aspirations, which is very important? And if there's something that I miss or something that I don't do, I expect that you come to me first, because that's what psychological safety is. You don't jump a level above. You feel safe enough to say, you know what, Kovini, I don't think that you're supporting me enough in, getting to the next level.
Yeah.
Can you just pay a little bit more attention? And those are conversations you can have safely in an organization that has a strong culture, a positive culture.
In closing, Kovini, what does a psychologically safe workplace mean? Not just for the organization, but just for the people within the organization as well. And obviously, I think at the bottom line will be positive, right? Which is obviously what we want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But what does it truly actually mean for the people inside that building?
I think there's been a culture of late where it's called toxic positivity.
Oh.
It means whatever comes your way, you must smile and say, oh, you must turn it into something positive.
Yeah,
even the worst
optimism.
thing, that's just not what, I guess, what the bottom line is about.
Yeah.
This kind of fake happiness that goes around the world, or fake happiness you see on social media. Everyone's happy, everyone's traveling. The truth of the matter is that it's just a highlight reel of someone's life.
Yeah.
And I think true psychological safety for employees is where, when they wake up in the morning, they feel excited to go to work. I won't say you bouncing out of bed, but you feel excited to either work online or engage your manager, engage your teammates. It feels like it feels easy. It feels like you're going with the flow, as opposed to being that one person that is pushing upwards,
Yeah.
at a river that's flowing downwards. And I think, with mental health, it's still such a stigma in the workplace. And often our mental health is being eroded by people in workplaces, right? You're not getting treated fairly. You speak up and then you're retaliated against. Suddenly you're sidelined, you're excluded. These are all very real cases. And I think it's very important that you as a leader take onus and take ownership of the way that your people are choosing to show up. That is it. That is your job, really.
Yeah.
Above the deliverables and the technical stuff, I think everyone who's hired in an organization has the relevant qualifications. We all have the same degrees. We're all CAs, for example. But are you doing enough to make sure that your people are engaged, that they want to speak to you, that you've built enough credibility for you, and they're not just respecting you because of a title? Because for me, titles don't mean a lot without leading people correctly.
Leading people correctly, I love that. How do we find you? How do we follow you?
I'm actually offering mentorship and coaching at this point for people that may be experiencing forms of bullying and harassment in the workplace. And you can reach me at inquiries at kovinimoodley.co.za, also at Kovini Moodley on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah.
That's easy. Thank you so much for your time. And I love what you said at the end. It's really, as the leader, it's your responsibility to make sure that your people show up ready and happy at the end of the day. Kovini Moodley is her name. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Compliance and social impact advocate, talking about creating psychologically safe spaces at the workplace. It's just gone 5 a.m. and here's Nyakalo. Good morning.
Power News. Thanks, Gay. The top stories at the Cell. The NC gives SACP members who want dual
Thank you.
membership a deadline